My name's Adam.
Alright, so today we're here with Adam, the first man ever created, and we're going to be interviewing him to just go over his life story and to go over the drawings he made for us. So Adam, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
So, my name's Adam. I'm the first human. Used to live in the Garden of Eden. That was really cool. Had to move out. Now I'm living here. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was formless and empty. The Spirit of the God hovered over it. Now this God said, "Let there be light." And there was. That was the first day. On the second, he separated water from water. On the third day, he separated the water from land. He let the land produce vegetation, seed-bearing plants, and trees over all of the earth. And that was the third day. Then God said, "Let there be lights in the expanse of the sky to separate the day from the night." On the fifth day, God created the birds of the sky and the creatures of the sea to roam around. On the sixth day, he created all the creatures that would walk around on the ground. God saw this was good, but he wanted more. He said, "Let us make man in our image, in our likeness." And that's where I come in.
What was your first memory?
I wake up and I feel a wind on my face, and it turns out it was God. He was breathing on me. And later I asked him, I was like, how was I born? How was I made? And he told me about how he created me out of dust and made me to look exactly like him. And looking into the pond, I realized he was right. I looked exactly like him. And I asked him more about it, and he told me how he created Earth and the sun and the moon and the stars and the ocean, the Garden of Eden. So there I was in the Garden of Eden. It was beautiful. There was so much fruit and vegetation. It was really a sight for sore eyes. But there's this one tree, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. God told me I couldn't eat it because if I did, I'd die. At the time, it didn't really mean anything to me. I mean, like, oh, what's one tree? I have thousands of others I can eat from. And if God said it, better be true. Little did I know how much it would cost me in the future.
But what happened after you were created?
Well, after I was created, God took me into the Garden of Eden. It was a great garden. It was like the garden of gardens of gardens. Ever since I was kicked out, nothing else has been the same.
Oh, how did you spend your days?
He showed me how to take care of everything. God showed me how to prune and take out weeds and water the garden and also take care of the animals. And he wanted me to show attention to the garden the same way that he kind of showed attention to me. I think that he wanted me to have kind of that same affection. God told me that he can give me a helper. So he showed me all the animals he made, and he said that I could choose a helper among them and also name them. Some of them are the four-legged football, four-legged meow meow, four-legged not so football, danger noodle, burp, ground burp, tasty burp, aqua burp, tuxedo burp, danger fluff, speedy fluff, nopalope, dirt, teddy bear, not so teddy bear, polka dot bear, ice bear, and the flying fire-breathing giant danger noodle.
So being the first person, was it kind of lonely?
I mean, yeah. And so I asked God, and he said for me to find a companion among the animals. I mean, they're cool, but the animals aren't really good to talk to. They can't really talk. So after naming all the animals, I still asked God for a suitable helper. I mean, don't get me wrong, the four-legged fluff ball is really cute, but it can't tend to the gardens or pull up a conversation. And after naming all the animals, I was tired, so I took a nap. Waking up, I saw there was another person, but this person was different because she was a she. In fact, she was the first she. And God told me how he made her out of my rib. I mean, my side hurt, but I figured it was probably worth it in the end.
So what was it like after the woman was created?
So after I met the woman, I was much less lonely. I mean, she was able to talk to me, and she was exactly like me. And we were able to spend time together and take care of the garden together, and she and I were in love with each other. Being made in God's image, God trusted us a lot, and he gave us a lot of freedom. We were able to go anywhere we wanted in the garden, except there was this one tree that we couldn't go near.
You said that you used to live in the Garden of Eden, but you don't anymore. Do you mind going into detail about that story for us?
Yeah, not my brightest moment. I was in the garden, tending to some of the trees, and I turned around and Eve was gone, and I tried to look for her. At this point, one of God's creatures was the serpent, and he was kind of different from the other ones, and he entered, and little did I know he was talking to Eve. While the woman and I were in the garden, a serpent came up to us, more crafty than any other wild animal. And he questioned us, asking us whether we could eat from any fruit in the garden. The woman replied, saying that we may eat from any fruit in the garden, but God did say, you must not eat fruit from the tree that is in the middle of the garden, and you must not touch it, or you will die. The serpent replied, you will not surely die, for God knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be open, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. The woman, after hearing this, thought, what's the worst that can happen if I surely will not die? She grabbed a piece of the fruit, which looked very pleasing to the eye, and took a bite. Seeing that nothing happened to her, I too took a bite after she offered it to me.
What happened after you ate the fruit?
After I ate the fruit, I had this kind of like a sensation in my eyes, and I looked around and I noticed that we were naked. I mean, we were naked the whole time, but I didn't feel the urge to get some clothes on. So I made some clothes out of some leaves just like this, and they kind of sucked. But after we made the clothes, we hid from God because we felt kind of ashamed. We heard him in the garden and he asked us where we were. He found us later with the clothes on, and he asked us why we had such horribly made leaves strapped around our bodies. And I told him how we were naked, so we had to wear clothes. And he asked us, well, who told you you were naked? And then he asked us if we ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. I told him yes, and he looked really angry. And so I told him how the woman that he gave me had given me the fruit and I couldn't have refused it. But she said how the serpent had offered her the fruit and that he said nothing would go wrong. And with pain you will give birth to children. Your desire will be for your husband, and he will rule over you. Then God turned to me with anger in his eyes and said, because you listened to your wife and ate from the tree about which I commanded you, you must not eat of it. Cursed is the ground because of you. Through painful toil you will eat of it all the days of your life. It will produce thorns and thistles for you, and you will eat the plants of the field. By the sweat of your brow you will eat your food until you return to the ground, since from it you were taken. For dust you are, and to dust you will return. After hearing this, I turned to my wife, and I named her Eve, because she would become the mother of all of the living, and from her many children would come that would do God's work.
So what happened after you guys were cursed?
Even though God was really angry and after he cursed us, he still made us some clothes because the ones we made were kind of falling apart. So he made me this, and afterwards he asked us to leave the Garden of Eden, which really sucked. It was the best place in the world where heaven and earth met. Can't get much better than that. And we went out and it was just barren wasteland all outside the garden, but we weren't allowed back in. I'm still alive. God's been good to me. I'm trying to teach Cain and Abel how to behave, but Cain's been acting up a little bit. Other than that, it's been pretty good, and I hope that someday, maybe not me or Cain or Abel or Eve, but maybe someday someone in the future will be allowed back into the garden. I think that we should focus on trying to grow closer to God, because ever since I messed up, we've been separate from him, and I feel like it's important that we come back.